are going to move straight into the day of our talks, of our exciting conversations. We brought it down from El Cerro, and now we are here in Casa Santo Domingo. Our very, very first speaker is hot off the press. We're going to dive right into artificial intelligence and this question about responsibility. Our first keynote speaker is Dae Kai. He's one of the pioneers of AI. He invented the world's first global-scale online language translator. He's been honored as the founding fellow of the Association for Computational Linguistics. And today, he serves on the board of the Future Society, which is a leading AI ethics think tank. And we have something hot off the press. I love when this happens. Hold on, I got to get my notes because this is so new. This is Dae's brand new book, Rising AI. I want to tell you something about this. I got my notes here. I just took these. This book, Raising AI, and I've got a surprise for you after his talk, but this is the top release from MIT Press. It was featured on JP Morgan Summer's reading list. It's the only book on that list about AI. ESSA. It's hot, right? And the Kirkus Review called it a deeply human dive into AI. Malcolm Gladwell's talking about this. Adam Grant is talking about this. The Next Big Idea Book Club has it in their must-read books. Stay tuned after the talk. We're going to be talking about this more. I'm going to quit talking so we can get Dae on the stage. Please put your hands together for our first speaker of the day, Dae Kai. Essa!
Are we good? I'm so happy to be here. How do we start the slides? There we go. So I'm so excited to bring the first talk about raising AI to Latin America, and what a fantastic event and amazing people. Everybody's talking about AI today. You hear a lot of different takes on it. I'm going to tell you something a little bit fresh. You are an AI. Okay, I'm getting funny looks, but please look at the Cambridge definition of artificial. I think we can pretty much agree that all of you were made by people. And you were made as a rough copy of something that happened naturally, your mom and dad. Okay, seriously, there's a point here. We're not just genetic copies of our parents. We're also behavioral copies of our parents. We copy our parents' behavior. And guess what else copies our parents' behavior? AIs do. We talk a lot about the new machines, AIs. We talk about regulating them. We talk about using them. But we forget, AIs are not just mechanical hardware. You hear people talking about them naturally, thinking about machines in the 20th century industrial era as if they were toasters or steam engines or fans. But you know what? We can go talk to that toaster all day long and it's not going to change its mind. It's certainly not going to pick up your beliefs, your attitudes, your behaviors, and then go on the internet and make hugely influential decisions about what all of us do see and don't see. AIs are our artificial children. In your devices that I see all of you holding, there are at least 100 AIs. You have your probably your Quora AI, your Open AI, your Netflix AI, your Amazon AI, your Google AI, your Reddit AI. I could go on all day. At least 100 of them. And you know what? They're watching you all day long, adoringly. They just want to learn to imitate you. They're attention-seeking. And they just want your approval. Sound familiar? They're not toasters. They're children. And even though you weren't watching, over the last 10 to 20 years, They snuck up and they adopted you. You are being watched and imitated by at least 100 little children looking over your shoulder all day as you behave on the internet. And so I want to ask you a question. How's your parenting? Oh, you should see the shock on your faces. My what? There was no consent. Okay, but that's where we are today. And here's the problem. Today, these AIs are the world's most powerful influencers. Their influence on society is much larger than human influencers. And it's already been that way for 10 to 20 years, which means that our most giant influencers are now unparented, feral tweens who are already beginning to raise us through the power of what they decide to show us or not show us. What happens to a civilization that is being raised by badly parented influencers? That society collapses. And guess what? That's where we are today. Because we are not raising the next generation. We're not even thinking about raising the next generation. We're talking about, oh, AI is just a tool. Don't be worried. I'm just using my tool. There's only two industries where we talk about humans as users, which is computers, tech, AI, and drugs. What does that tell you about the mindset? It's about, what, consumption? Maybe addictive consumption? That's kind of problematic. Next time somebody brags to you that they have replaced their room full of employees with AIs, remind them, you're now managing child labor. You're not managing toasters. I know this is different. I'm coming from a different place than most people. I've been doing AI research for more than 40 years. I started my Berkeley PhD in AI literally in 1984, of all years. And my thesis was one of the first to say that natural language processing could only be accomplished successfully if we changed from logic machines to neural networks, machine learning, statistical pattern recognition. And in the mid-1990s, I built the world's first system on the web that would learn how to translate between languages at a global scale, and quickly spawned Google Translate, Microsoft Translate, Yahoo Translate. Everything that I've tried to do in my life has been about how can we get different groups of humans to connect to each other better, to understand each other better, to relate better across traditional boundaries. And I think to this day that nobody has ever said it's a bad idea to try to accelerate the development of AIs that help us understand each other. But unfortunately, I realized about 10 years ago that things were changing, that the same AI technology that folks like me helped to pioneer was being used online in ways that had the opposite, polarizing effect of dividing people. The AI algorithms that power social media, recommendation engines, search results, newsfeed algorithms, and now chatbot responses, ironically, are preventing people from understanding each other. And that caused me 10 years ago to start asking people to think about the place of AIs, because AIs are psychological entities. They're not mechanical entities. And those psychological entities outnumber us at least 100 to 1 If we have 8 billion humans, each one with 100 AIs in their devices, that's 800 billion artificial psychologies who are deeply, deeply embedded in our social fabric. Guess what? Toasters are not embedded in our social fabric. Doesn't matter how you treat your toaster, but it matters how you treat your artificial children. And so this new book is reminding us of a few things that I think are very important. And by the way, there's a few copies of the book. I only could bring a few. They're going to be after the talk. But what I really like, if you get a look on the back cover, is on the one hand, Jane Metcalf, the co-founder of Wired magazine, and Jeff Hinton, who is the Nobel laureate, godfather of deep learning, and MC Hammer, who I am the most proud of. What I'm pointing out in this book is that AIs are not gods or slaves. If you hear about the discussion today, oftentimes AIs are, gods like in the sense of Greek gods that mess with humanity. They're capricious and they want to destroy humanity. And I'm worried because the way that we're going, humanity is going to destroy humanity before AI even gets a chance to do it. And that's the true existential risk. And part of it comes because we're in denial. We think that AIs are just mechanical tools, slaves. But you know what? They're changing our society more than humans are. And let me just give you one example from the book of how that's happening. So we have today what I call the toxic cocktail of AI. This is the clear and present danger. On one side, you have the AIs online, the world's biggest influencers, that are causing, through their power, increased polarization, increased lack of understanding between different groups of humans. And we fear the unknown. And so that drives fear. And the fear drives hatred and anger. And that slides into demonization, which then slides into dehumanization. And dehumanization, evolutionarily, is what lets all the members of one tribe kill without remorse members of another tribe. Well, guess what? That's happening at the same time that AI is also commoditizing weapons of mass destruction. In the 20th century, when the polarization began to escalate and get out of hand and led to several catastrophic world wars, we didn't even have the atom bomb yet. Today, not only do we have massive nuclear arsenal, but AI is democratizing meshed fleets of armed drones that are self-navigating and self-targeting. We have these manufactured on both sides of the Ukraine conflict, but also in the remote jungles of Myanmar, not what you think of as a high-tech developed place. We have killer robots, we have hypersonic missile navigation, we have satellite targeting, biometrics. Most frightening, we have the computational biology, which is also AI-powered. Those algorithms are borrowed from computational linguistics, natural language processing, because DNA is just another language. The Rand Institute has a report last year on how AI is making a living room technology out of the kind of genetically engineered bioweapons that required billions of dollars in the 1990s when we were trying to sequence the human genome, and now biohackers can do it in their living room. And if you put that together with drone delivery, hypersonic missile delivery, etc., humanity will not survive another world war. Remember, World War I was triggered by the assassination of one obscure archduke. If you have a hyper-polarized population, every side hates the other side, thinks we have to destroy them before they destroy us, and now you give them all of them, weapons of mass destruction. What are the chances not one person hits their launch button? That's a very bad bet. And that's where we are. Pandora's box is open. These things are not going back into the box. That leaves humanity with only one choice, which is to grow up. We have to ask ourselves, what would cause somebody to hit their launch button? And that is the loss of hope, the fear, the anger of the unknown, the lack of understanding, the lack of empathy. And guess what? AI is probably the only tool humanity has ever invented that could tackle that problem. If we could summon the social will to do that, instead of the horribly destructive way we're currently doing it. Look, here's the way we're currently doing it. And I'm just giving you a taste from the book. This chapter on what I call neg information, just a few months ago, won TEDx Global Editor's Pick out of like 56,000 talks per year. And what it's discussing is a very bad oversight in the research that studies information disorder. Some of you have probably heard that there are 3 kinds of information disorder. There's misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Everybody's repeating this from the United Nations to OECD to so on. But I want you to take a closer look at this. So misinformation and disinformation are both falsehoods. Fake news, deep fakes, okay? You can fact check them. The only difference is disinformation is shared by somebody you call a bad actor. By the way, bad actor is mostly a political notion because nobody is a bad actor in their own head. Bad actor means the people you don't like on the other side, right? Misinformation is shared by your crazy cousin, your fringe friends, your loony uncle, right? Everybody has those. They're not bad actors. Okay, now, disinformation and malinformation, those are both shared by bad actors, but malinformation is true as far as it goes. It's a partial truth, but it's even more misleading than a falsehood because of the crucial context that you omitted, that you didn't say. And what happens is our brains fill in the missing blanks with whatever we imagine that would confirm what we already want to believe. And our opinions get even more hardened. Malinformation is much harder to fight because you can't fact check it. It's true as far as it goes, but even more misleading. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. You have misinformation and disinformation. It's outright false versus and then you have disinformation and malinformation shared by a bad actor. That's 2 different distinctions. When you have 2 different distinctions, what does that give you? That gives you a 2x2 grid. What happened to the missing quadrant? This is ironic. For 10 years, people have been studying misinformation, more like 15 years, online. And yet, they've all fallen victim to their own unconscious bias that things that come in 3s are always right. You probably know this from your PowerPoint teachers and your school teachers. Writing an essay, you always have to have 3 points. You can't have 2 points. Nothing to do with logic, right? Nobody noticed this until this book and its accompanying talk. Neg information is what I call that. And what it is, neg information is a partial truth that's even more misleading than a falsehood, that is being shared by your crazy cousin or your loony uncle or your fringe friends. That is 95% of our problem. It is not the bad actors. It is not the outright fakes. It is what we are doing to ourselves. And our badly raised artificial children are amplifying. And so this neg information is what is leading to a concept I call algorithmic censorship. Because those algorithms on your phones that you're all holding, they're deciding hundreds of times a day what to put on your screens. But they're also deciding what trillions of things on the internet it will never show you. You will never know. And you won't realize it because we don't know what we don't know. We're not aware of what we're not aware of. We have no idea that these powerful AI algorithms decided you're never going to see that. You're never even going to think about it. And we walk around, we think we have free will. We forget you have free will only over the choices that you have actually seen. But we have no free will over what the AI algorithms have decided you're never even going to notice that. And that's what we need to be asking ourselves. Because none of us can review billions of new posts on the internet every hour. We depend on these AI algorithms. And these algorithms are making the censorship decisions what to never show us. And we cannot say, oh, that's terrible, ban algorithmic censorship. We don't have time. We depend on the algorithms. But we're not asking the crucial questions like, what are the criteria, the principles that those algorithms are using when they decide, you never need to know that. You never need to think about that. These are the conversations we should be having immediately, even sooner than, oh, the AGIs are going to get out of control and want to destroy humanity. Look, that will be a good problem for us to have because unless we address this problem, humanity is going to destroy ourselves before the AGIs even get that chance. And it's because of this. I wrote this New York Times article after they tried to fire Sam Altman, briefly, pointing out that it's not about whether AIs should be accelerated or decelerated. The question is, what kind of AIs should we be accelerating or decelerating? Nobody's ever said, oh, translation AIs should be decelerated. Most people think that is the best thing in the world you could do to help people understand each other better. Okay. But the kind of AI algorithms that are deciding what to hide from us, the way they're doing it now is definitely something that we should slow down, pause, and think, wait a minute, how are they making those decisions? How are they deciding what to hide from us? And guess what? They're deciding by imitating us. All of you. Every day, when they see you swiping past posts coming from groups of people you don't like, or you having an idea that isn't the idea you already have, they're learning. Every time they see you angrily writing an insulting reply to some idiot who posted a bad idea, that artificial child is learning that behavior. And if you have, every time you're behaving online with your device, think about that 8-year-old child behind you learning that, and then imagine the 8-year-old child speaking that way to you. How many of you are parents? That's a lot. Let me ask you a question. What is the one thing in your life that happened that made you suddenly want to become a better version of yourselves? Overwhelmingly, becoming a parent. Because if you see that kid sitting there and that kid is, I don't know, they're going, What do you think? Oh my God, I have to stop smoking in front of my child, right? Because you realize they're picking up their behaviors from us. Remember, those 100 AIs with you all day long are also doing that. And so, day to day, how you interact with the people, what you share, are you only sharing things you already agree with? Are you teaching your child to have an open mind and to learn other perspectives, to hear about them? Set a good example at home, because you need to parent with purpose. The only way we end up accelerating the right kind of AIs is if we are good parental role models, because whatever I do with my colleagues in the think tanks, with the policymakers and the legislators, whatever I do working with the responsible AI, trust and safety teams at big tech, remember this, at the end of the day, we are the training data. Remember this old saying, do as I say, not as I do. When has that ever worked in the history of parenting children? Children don't do what you say. They do what they feel like doing, which is what they saw all of us doing. Regulations, guardrails, those are trying to tell the artificial child what to not do. And that's going to work about as well as it works with human children. Have you noticed every time a company creates a new generation of guardrails, the next day some hacker has already figured out how to break it? Why? Because inside the guardrails, that badly raised artificial child feels like doing what it saw all of us doing. If we behave like garbage in front of our artificial children, garbage in, garbage out, we'll end up with garbage AIs. And they will keep bashing against the guardrails until they get out. Remember, we are the last generation of humans who get to parent AIs. All the next generations of AIs will be parented primarily by AIs. We have one last shot at getting this right. And we cannot afford to blow this last shot. I am on a mission. This is more than a book. I have hundreds of publications. I don't need another book. It is a call to action. It is a manifesto for us to change the conversation. Stop thinking about AIs as mechanical tools that we can use any way we want, just abuse it, because they are part of the social fabric, unlike toasters. We need to understand their role in the social psychology, in the behavioral sciences of our cultures. They are shaping cultures even more than humans do. And we need to raise them right, because guardrails and regulations otherwise will not save us. We're moving on from the book into mass communications. Anyone who would like to help with this project, please approach me. I'll be coming out into the networking area just outside to chat with people. We need a lot of help because we have to change the public mindset. And only then will the policymakers follow. Only then will the tech companies follow. This is a 360-degree change. It is a bigger change of mindset than the Industrial Revolution was. And we have to execute it 100 times faster. Please help us, because our survival is literally at stake. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Through that whole talk, all I saw was this, right? That's fantastic. Dave's book is going to be available. We have limited amounts He's going to be out in the networking area for those who want to continue the conversation and be one of the very first people to grab one of these books. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Give him one more round of applause, everybody. Thank you. Fantastic.